Have you ever read a book by a Nobel Prize winning author? Because up until now, I hadn't. All right, so today is Klara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro. Fingers crossed I got that right. Yeah, I don't know how the Nobel Prize in Literature works, or if they're generally amazing authors or not. I don't know, but I, heard good things about this book. I'm a huge fan of science fiction. 2/3 easily of that bookshelf back there is science fiction, and we have a science fiction book by a Nobel Prize winning author, so why not? Holy shit. This book in particular, I've never read anything else by Kazuo. I'll be looking for a little bit more stuff from him, but I've never read anything by him before, so I didn't know what to expect. This is my first go round, and god damn is this book genius. Absolutely genius. And it comes down to perspective. The plot is actually relatively simple, and it could have been pretty average, just real average story. But the genius and the value of this doesn't come in the plot. It's not even necessarily in the world building, it's in the perspective. So right off the bat, you are Klara. Klara is a little robot girl, an android. She's what's called an artificial friend, and she's in a storefront to be purchased by a family and is there to be a companion doll for a little girl in this futuristic society. So as the story plays out, you are trapped in the head of this little android robot toy doll girl. So as she sees the world and as she experiences the world is the only lens through which you have to experience the story. You don't get any type of pulled out view of what's happening or how it's happening or what's going on with the characters. So as she learns things, that's how you learn them. And it's weird because she doesn't think like a person does. She thinks different. She doesn't see things the way a person would. She sees them a little bit different. Everything's just a little bit skewed. Everything's just a little bit off kilter. She can be experiencing something which to her is the first time that she's experienced it. To you, it would be an absolutely everyday normal object that you touch and use every day in your life. But because she doesn't know what that thing is or what it does or how it works, to her, she has to interpret it for herself in her own way as she's experiencing it. So it could take you pages. There were some things, just like an object, which took me literally like 20 to 30 pages. I'm like, oh shit, that's what she's talking about. And it would have made sense if they would have just said it from the beginning. He can't tell you that because she doesn't know that. And also, it feels like the important things, the really truly important things happening in the story, it always feels like they're just out of reach because they're having the conversation around her, but they might leave the room, but because she's standing in the corner, she didn't get that part of the conversation because she wasn't a part of the conversation. She's not a person. She's just a doll, and she's not to be viewed as a functioning member of anything. She's just furniture almost, the way they walk around her and talk around her, sometimes talk about her as if she's not even there because she doesn't exist. She couldn't possibly have feelings and emotions, although she does. But the people don't acknowledge that she could possibly have them ever. It's a very interesting place to be in the story. And his dedication to it is so unwavering. It's really an experience reading this book. it's something on a level I wasn't quite prepared for. But I also did very little research going into that. I knew literally like nothing. I was like, oh, little doll girl in a window, she goes be bought, and you're the little doll. And I did not know what I was getting myself in for. Not even close. So perspective, that's where we're at. That's who you are, and that's what's going on. Then it all takes place in a futuristic society, dystopia, whatever you want to call it. And this world and this book is dark as fuck. I mean, dark. This world is a world you don't want to live in. This society is a society you never want to be a part of. You don't quite grasp it at first because, once again, you're in the head of the girl, so it's only in passing as conversations happen that you get to start to see, and it slowly, this world pieces itself together in front of you like a puzzle. And it's not until it starts to come into focus that you're like, fuck this place. It's just the worst. And I've heard this book described as a book about discovering hope. Is it though? Is it? If anything, this book will crush any hope you have left. It's that dark. It is classism taken to the ultimate extreme. The choices that these people have to make just to live and exist in this society are awful on a level that we should not have to comprehend, or they shouldn't have to comprehend. When we look at it from a perspective of where we exist in a society now, in a world now, it's just horrendous to think that this is the world that these people exist in. But at the same time, you don't even realize it, at least not right off the bat, because it's viewed through the lens of Klara, and Klara sees the world with such innocence and, more importantly, tenderness. The writing style, I think that's the best word that I can come up with. That's the word that kept coming to mind as I was reading. The book is written with a specific tenderness to it. As awful and as dark as the subject matter that is being discussed is, it never feels as awful or as dark as it is, because there's this just through line of sheer tenderness that is brought to the writing through Kazuo Ishiguro, through the mind of Klara and the way she processes information. And in the end, here's the hope. She almost sees hope in everything. She's always hopeful. It could be as simple as her seeing somebody that she recognizes and remembers and hoping that they'll see her and recognize her. And it's never tainted with the crushing realization that they might not recognize her, or that something bad might happen afterwards, because that doesn't really exist in her head. So it's just this odd sense of innocence and that tenderness that I spoke of, and that hopefulness that she has in this area that her consciousness exists in, that you have the joy of experiencing. And in the end, I'm not even sure what it was trying to tell me, because, you know, there's promises made that aren't kept. There's sacrifices made that mean nothing. There's so much there that it's like, what? I don't know. It's just a serious, it's just a look inside of humanity. But in the end, it doesn't really paint any of it as bad. It doesn't paint any of it as good. It just is. And it's so true, and it feels real. It just feels so genuine. It's impressive. Impressed me. Anyway, This is easily one of the most brilliant uses of perspective I have ever seen in a book. And I mean ever. This one's walking right out of here with an absolute 9 out of 10. And if you haven't read this one, please go pick it up. It was really hard to do this spoiler free. Really, really hard. But go read it, 9 out of 10.